Hey, welcome here at Just Fruits and Exotics. Today I was gonna show how we propagate our pineapple plants. We're gonna kind of go through these pups in here are ready to go ahead and take, and so we wanted to demonstrate the best way to take your pineapple pups, as we call them, the babies that come off, and how to let them heal over, and then eventually propagate them. Today we will just be separating them and letting them callus over, so that in about a week we can pot them. But that's the easy part. This part is kind of the part where we want to make sure that we let them callus properly so that they don't rot, and that they can that we can pot them later and get them ready. Get them in some soil. So first thing we're gonna do, we got clippers. I'm gonna sterilize the clippers with pineapple plants. I'm not too worried about spreading anything. They're pretty disease free and don't have too many issues. But it's always a good idea to sterilize your clippers anytime you're working with plants pruning, and especially during propagation when you don't want to introduce any bacteria, disease, fungus, anything like that. So I'm just gonna take an alcohol prep pad and just wipe down the clippers, get anything off of there that might be on there from some landscaping or pruning I've been doing the last couple days. So clean up my clippers, and now we're ready to go. As you can see, these are the variegated pineapple plants. We have multiple varieties that are actually ready, but today we're going to do the variegated pineapple plants. This one's special to me. I love this plant. I think it's beautiful. They are sharp. They've got serrated edges, and so I'm wearing gloves. I might even let my sleeves down. I wore a long sleeve shirt just to protect my arms if it starts getting if I start getting cut up too much. But I'm gonna reach in here. This pineapple is ready, and it's got a bunch of little babies, or pups as I call them, and I'm going to take this pineapple off and then show you how to separate up all the pups, and then we'll let them callus over on the table, and they'll sit for about a week. It takes about a week for them to callus over. Pineapples are in the bromeliad family, so they don't need a lot of soil. They can actually kind of live off of their own, off themselves for a little while. So you don't have to worry like some plants. Just cutting this off real quick. So there's the little pineapple, and it's bright red when it first comes out, and then it starts to lighten up into a lighter pink and then white. So this one, once we get all the pups off, then I'll let it sit, and it should ripen up, because that's about as big as the variegated pineapple gets. It's not a very large pineapple. Mostly very much so an ornamental pineapple, but it does have a tasty fruit. They're just not very large. So, but we've got multiple of them, so we'll leave these other ones to finish ripening off. But this one was close enough, and I wanted to get a little video to show you how I'm going to separate all these out. You can see, well, and you'll see better when we take it over the table and actually separate them. But there are a bunch of little individual pineapple plants on this one fruit. Pineapples will also pup from off of the main plant. But we find that the variegated pineapple, once you get that fruit, it produces so many babies off of the top of that fruit. Whereas other varieties, we get more pups off of the plant itself, not so much off of the fruit. So let's take this over to the table, the prep table, and we'll separate it out. And it's pretty basic from there, but wanted to show you how neat these plants are. All right, we're over at the prep table. We're gonna use this space to separate out all the individual plants, lay them out on this cardboard, and let them callus or heal over, which is basically where, here, I'll just go ahead and start and show you. So we've got our clean clippers. I'm going to come in and get as close to the pineapple as I can and snip each plant off. And then this right here needs to callus or heal over before you can stick it in soil, because it'll just start, because it's so fresh, it can rot. It actually almost always rots unless you just left it on dry soil. But if the soil gets wet at all, that will rot out. So I'm just going to line these up as I take them off, and I got to get really as close to And in fact, it's probably best to even cut into the pineapple more than the plant, because in nature, or in its natural setting, the pineapple would just fall over onto the ground. The pineapple would slowly rot, and as it rotted away, these would callus over on their naturally. As the fruit rotted, they would be callusing over, and then once the fruit was completely disintegrated or decomposed, these would be ready to start producing roots. So this is a little bit better here. If you can see how we got all the bulb, and this is just where it was touching the plant. That's ideal right there. We're going to let that callus, which just means to dry out for about 5 to 7 days, and then they'll be ready to go into some soil. And like I said, they can live. They're like almost like air plants. They're in the bromeliad family, and they're almost like air plants. They can live kind of without soil, without water for a little while, because their core has the soil, or has the water and the nutrients it needs to survive until it gets some air roots. So we're just going to lay these out and keep going here. And I'm going to be cutting more, like I was saying, cutting more into the pineapple versus cutting off too much of the pup, because that bulb could be compromised if I don't get it. And sometimes you use your clippers like almost more of like a knife than clippers. So I'm going to kind of come in here, and I'm actually just going to cut the whole top of the pineapple off so that I can see where they attach better. And so kind of cutting this out. Over. All right, it's pretty much separated there. Now that I'm gonna let just shelf ripen. I think we'll be able to taste that. It's still a little green, so it'll take a little while to ripen up, but we'll leave that out, and everybody will get a taste here in a couple days. Now, you can use clippers. You can almost just break them apart, but I think it's ideal to sort of cut them apart so that you're not tearing too much. A clean cut keeps calluses over better than a tear. So I'm just going to keep laying these out, and it'll take probably these little guys maybe a full growing season to become large, decent size 1 or 3 gallon plants. It is a long process to the point where we're ready to share them with our customers and make them available. So it's time consuming, but it's well worth it with this plant. It's just one of my favorites to just use in the landscape, and then see the bloom, which is just incredibly colorful. Like I was saying, this is actually, when it first puts on this fruit, it's like bright red. I mean, just almost glowing red, and it's really, really amazing to see. And just so it's very intriguing in the landscape, and it produces an edible fruit. So you can definitely use it in a very versatile way. And that's kind of what we love to do, is take these plants that produce incredibly good tasting fruit, but we can also incorporate them into the landscape, and it's an added bonus any way you look at it. So I'm just kind of going in and kind of chopping these out, separate them out a little bit. And once you get them separated, then you can see, the individual plants, and you kind of pull that aside a little bit. And it's okay to leave some of that pineapple on there, because that'll just kind of dry out and give it a chance to heal over real clean right on the like that. That's what you want right there. It's got a little bit of the fruit still on there, and then as that fruit dries out, it'll kind of fall off, and you'll have a calloused edge right there. It'll be all healed over, and then that plant will be ready to go into soil. And if your pineapple has a whole bunch like this, you can actually take some and stick them into the, like I said, they're almost can be air plants. You can stick them into the crevice of a tree stump, or into the palm, the crevice of a palm frond, where the frond attaches to the palm trunk, and you have it growing out of the palm or something. They're just really versatile. You can use them in many ways, and fun plant to play with. We'll show you. Maybe we'll take a tour and show you how we've incorporated them into our landscape a little bit. Really fun, colorful plant to landscape with, and makes a great potted plant. In fact, because these are pineapples, we're in North Florida here, and we do get a winter, and so this makes a great container plant, because you can have it on the patio, and then when it gets really cold, you can just tuck it up against the house. They don't need to be protected completely from the cold weather. It's just the frost. If you can keep the frost off of them, they'll make it through the winter, no problem. And so when you have it in a container, it's easy to just tuck it up against the house, or bring it under the patio awning, or bring it all the way inside and really protect it. That's why we really like this as a container plant. So just going through, getting all these off. And actually, this last one is just one big plant. I thought there was a few more in there, but this, I believe, is yeah, that's it. So that's like when you get a pineapple at the grocery store, that's kind of that main one. But the variegated pineapple likes to put on all these pups off the fruit. Most pineapples don't do that, so that's going to be a nice plant to start with. But again, we need to make sure it heals over and becomes calloused there, so that's not susceptible to rot when it starts getting moisture on the bottom of it. So this is the big one we're going to let sit here. Even these little ones, these will turn into big plants like this someday, and these will turn into those big plants that we just pulled this fruit off of. So it's a lot of fun. We hope you get a chance to try growing this plant. It's a really, really amazing plant to grow. So we'll try to show some pictures of how we use it in the landscape. So this is just an example of how you can incorporate the variegated pineapple into the landscape a little bit. It's just a fun way to fruitscape with these plants. You can mix them in with other colorful, kind of variegated, similar colors, shapes, or just go with a whole different texture. The ferns offer a lot of different texture with this really sharp, pointed leaf here, and then these plants have another kind of similar pinkish color as the stems and the edges of the variegated pineapple. So it's just a really fun way to incorporate them. Like I said, just whatever you want to do. You could put them in a nice glazed container, have it potted, and have it kind of as a specimen. Here, I just kind of wanted it to look kind of random and fun coming out of these ferns. So it's just a really fun plant to work with, to play with, to look at. And you can fruitscape with it, because eventually you'll have that pineapple, which is actually the bloom, come out, and it's a whole nother showpiece with that really bright colored fruit coming up, and the top coming off of that. And then once that happens, you can take all your pups and separate them and let them callus over like we just did, and then you can have more to play with. And like I was saying, we could take some of those pups and you can shove them into the crevice of these fronds. They should take, if it's not too hot and too sunny right away, they can all they need is a little bit of this, decayed leaf material or frond, whatever it is. They can actually sustain in that environment for a while. Eventually they get too big, and you could take it and pot it up or move it into the actual landscape. Just remember, they're frost sensitive, so if they're under something like this and under a tree, it should keep the frost off of them. That's how we use them. where they're kind of tucked into a sheltered area by the building under this big tree, under this palm. That keeps the frost off of them. But if you're not sure, maybe before a hard freeze or you know there's going to be a frost, pot them up and move them inside or something like that. They are frost sensitive, but they've been very tough and hardy for us. And we really love this plant, and we hope you enjoy it too.